Sister kicked me out of the house 2 days after I returned home from a cesarean section. I got a boyfriend, so I need your bedroom. My belongings and mom packed said, stop being a parasite. The next day, I instructed movers to remove all the furniture from the house and stopped paying rent. I have a boyfriend now, and he's going to stay over at this house. So can you give up this room for us? Zoe walked into the room without even knocking and dropped that bombshell. And for a moment, I forgot how to breathe. Her face bore a hardened expression that held a kind of determination, unlike her usual carefree demeanor. Just minutes ago, I had been gazing at my newborn son Caleb sleeping, face soaking in the rare moment of peace that had finally arrived. The incision from the C-section throbbed with pain, making it hard to laugh or even cough. Still, the warmth of the tiny life in my arms filled me with such joy that it made me forget all the pain that happiness was shattered like glass by a single sentence from my sister. For a moment, I couldn't even process what she had said. I kept replaying her words in my mind. Boyfriend, give up the room. Did she really just say that to her sister who had just undergone a C-section and needed complete bed rest? It had only been 3 days. After more than 24 hours of labor, I had delivered Caleb via emergency C-section. I still remembered the chill of the anesthesia, the numb sensation of the scalpel slicing my skin. Finally, the powerful sound of his first cry. My husband Connor, stationed overseas as a soldier in the U.S. military, couldn't be there to witness this miracle. That's why I had planned to stay at my parents' house and raise my first child with the help of my mother and Zoe until he returned home. On the morning of my discharge, the attending doctor gave me a firm warning in a gentle but serious tone. Samantha, a C-section is major surgery. You must take it easy and stay on strict bed rest for at least 6 weeks. I could feel the weight of those words with the dull ache that remained in my abdomen. But right after I was discharged, my world was thrown from heaven into hell. Are you kidding me? Though, what condition I'm in? The doctor said I need complete bed rest for 6 weeks. I managed to squeeze out those words, and she replied while picking at her nails with a bored look. So what doctors always say that just to be safe, you're being dramatic. I felt the blood drain from my face at her thoughtless response. Was she actually serious? I called out to my mother, who I believed was in the living room, for help. Mom, can you come here? Please? When she came rushing in, I told her what Zoe had just said. The words that came out of her mouth were in my defense. Samantha, calm down a bit. Listen to Zoe's side too. What do you mean? Let's talk. I just gave birth to a baby. I have a huge wound on my stomach, and even moving is a struggle. Are you seriously telling me to get out of this house? Even at my desperate outcry, my mother didn't so much as raise an eyebrow. Instead, she looked down at me with a pitiful yet cold gaze. So he has the right to be happy too. Do you plan to stay in this house forever? You have Connor, don't you? Time you built your own family? But Connor's job in the military keeps him stationed overseas most of the time. Until our lives settle down, we all agree to live together in this house. Situations change. With that single phrase, my mother froze my heart completely. Listen to me, Samantha. Women have been giving birth just like you for thousands of years. Stop using that as an excuse to rely on your parents forever. Pathetic. Her words seared into my chest like hot iron. I fought back tears with all my strength. Mom, what are you saying? I'm supposed to be on bed rest in this house. Enough already. My mother's shout rattled the air in the room. It had always been like this. No matter how right I was, if Zoe wanted something, my mother would always take her side. Even when Zoe spilled juice on my brand new textbooks, I was the one whom she scolded. You're the older sister. You should have kept them somewhere. She couldn't reach the expensive gaming console, though he wanted was given to her right away. But when I asked for money to buy college reference books, she said, get a part-time job and pay for it yourself. To my mother, Zoe was the cute younger daughter, clever and good at getting what she wanted. I, the independent one, was always the strong older daughter who didn't need help, who was expected to endure everything in silence, clinging to my last hope. I brought up the financial truth of this household. Wait, Mom, this wasn't the deal. Did you forget? After Dad passed away, Connor and I have been the ones paying for this household's living expenses. Considering my husband's frequent overseas assignments, we had decided that it would be too hard for me to raise a child alone. That's why we, who had long hoped to have a baby, agreed that I would stay at my parents' house until things calmed down. It was something the whole family had agreed upon after my father passed away. Connor and I offered to cover most of the household expenses in order to support my mother, whose income had become unstable, and Zoe, who is still a student. When we first started living together, my mother said this, but if you're moving in, this old furniture and these appliances won't do, we'll need a bigger refrigerator. And we don't even have a proper sofa where everyone can relax. Moved by her words, kind-hearted Connor and I decided to purchase a full set of new large furniture. and appliances out of our savings so that the whole family could live comfortably. That time we never imagined that such kindness would be betrayed in this way. My mother scoffed at my words. Household expenses. We don't need them anymore, though his influence or work has started to take off. From now on, she'll be earning a steady income every month. I was speechless. Then Zoe said shamelessly, "That's right. You don't have to pay the household expenses anymore. From now on, my influence or income will be more than enough to support this house. So we don't need you anymore." What are you talking about? My boyfriend is also a well-known influencer. We've been told we'll definitely succeed. If we work together, and to do that, we need a proper filming studio. This room is perfect. It has the right size and great sunlight. She continued her selfish comments as if brushing aside something that was in her way. Besides, honestly, if we're going to be filming real videos and having him over crying baby in the background would be the worst. It would completely ruin the vibes. It's just in the way she looked away while fiddling with her phone. I know her social media account. It says she has tens of thousands of followers, but I also know that most of them are just fake numbers she bought from online services. She keeps posting pictures of fancy cafes and luxury cosmetics. But I know those things will never turn into real income for her. That's a lie. Mom, you're being fooled. Though his influence, her stuff is just a silly game. And this house is... Enough with the whining. Before I could finish, my mother cut me off and yanked open the closet in the room. Without hesitation, she began pulling out my clothes. Mom, stop. What are you doing? What does it look like? I'm packing your things for you. Even if I wanted to resist, my body wouldn't respond. I didn't even have the strength to speak anymore. Now go. You need to live on your own. All I had was the bag of my belongings and the small Caleb in my arms. That was everything I was allowed to take from the house. The front door closed behind me with a cold, merciless thud. Outside the world was bathed in the orange glow of dusk. But through my tear-blurred vision, everything looked gray. It was the 5th day after my C-section. I held my newborn son in my arms with nowhere to go, abandoned by my family. I remembered the promise I made to my late father. On his deathbed, he gripped my hand and said, "Samantha, I'm counting on you to look after your mother and Zoe. Please protect this house." I just wanted to keep that promise. Because I loved this family and this house. This the result of that love. Caleb in my arms was thankfully still sleeping peacefully. I had to protect this tiny life. That one thought was the only thing barely holding me together. But where could I go? I didn't want to tell Connor, who was stationed overseas, about this miserable situation and make him worry unnecessarily. As time passed, the cold wind slowly drained the warmth from my body. The incision on my abdomen stung from the cold and tension. At this rate, both Caleb and I would truly be in danger. Then an image of Sarah, my mother-in-law, came to my mind. Connor's mother had always been kind and thoughtful. Maybe I could rely on her with trembling fingers. I operated my phone and called her number. After a few rings, her calm voice came through. "Hello, Samantha. It's wrong. I only saw you for a little while when I visited the other day. But let's meet again soon when things settle down. Is your body doing okay?" The moment I heard her gentle voice, my tear ducts finally burst sobbing. I explained my situation between broken breaths about the C-section, the doctor's instructions for rest, and how my own mother and sister had kicked me out of the house. I heard Sarah gasp on the other end of the line. When I finished talking, there was a brief silence before her voice came through, quiet but filled with steel-like resolve. "I understand. Where are you now? Don't move. I'm coming to get you right away." Her words were a ray of light in the darkness. When I told her I was in front of my parents' house, she replied, "I'll be there soon," and hung up. Maybe 30 minutes passed. When I saw my mother-in-law's familiar car appear from down the road, I let out a deep sigh of relief. She got out of the car, and when she saw me, Caleb in my arms and the suitcase beside me, her face twisted in pain, but then she embraced me tightly. "You did so well, Samantha. It's okay now. Go." She gently lifted Caleb into her arms and laid him in the baby car seat, then loaded my luggage into the trunk. Once we were in the car and the warm air from the heater touched my skin, tension that had been keeping me upright snapped. And I began to cry again. Without saying a word, she continued to rub my back gently. When we arrived at her home, it felt like heaven. "First, get some rest. I'll take care of Caleb," grateful for her words. I slowly took a shower and changed into clean pajamas. The warm soup she made steeped into the deepest parts of my frozen body. When I finally started to feel like myself again, she brought a laptop into the room. "You should contact Connor. He has the right to know." I nodded and pressed the video call button. Connor's face appeared on the screen, showing signs of fatigue from his mission. But when he saw me and Caleb, his face lit up instantly. "Samantha. Caleb, I've missed you so much. How are you feeling?" I took a deep breath and told him everything that had happened today. As the story progressed, his expression shifted from a smile to surprise, then confusion. Finally, burning fury. What did you say? Kicked you out. You just after giving birth and our newborn son. I can't believe this. He held his head in his hands and cursed repeatedly. He kept saying he wanted to jump on a plane right now and come back. I did my best to calm him down. It's okay. Connor, your mother helped me. I'm in a safe place now. So please, just focus on your work. Please. I'm sorry, Samantha. I'm really sorry. I hate the fact that I couldn't be there for you. Mom, please take care of Samantha and Caleb. Leave it to me. Connor, don't worry. Just carry out your duty. We'll take care of things here. Sarah's strong words seemed to calm Connor down a little. After we ended the call, she sat beside me with a serious expression and said, Samantha, this isn't just a family squabble. What your mother and sister did is inhumane and possibly illegal. You must not just let this go. Her words snapped me back to reality. I had been so overwhelmed with anger and sadness that I hadn't thought that far. But what can I do? I know a lawyer I can contact. I'll reach out first thing tomorrow. Do you have any kind of evidence? Question triggered my memory. After my father died, I handled all the paperwork related to the house's contracts and payments. I had all the receipts for the furniture and appliances I purchased with my credit card, and years of utility bills showing I'd paid them. All of it was carefully stored in a personal folder in the cloud. I have all the proof that I've been financially supporting them for years. A sharp light flickered in her eyes when she heard this. Then we can fight this. No, we will win. I don't have to worry about anything from now on. We're the only family you and Caleb need. And those who hurt you will get exactly what they deserve. Absolutely. Her quiet fury and unshakable resolve ignited the fire that had been lying dormant inside me. Couldn't just cry anymore. I'm a mother now. To protect my child's future, I have to be strong. The next morning, Sarah kept her word and contacted a lawyer named Cole. Knowing I had just given birth, he came all the way to Sarah's house to meet me. I explained everything and showed him the stored documents and evidence. Cole listened quietly and reviewed each document with great care before finally speaking gravely. This is appalling. Miss Samantha, your financial contributions to your mother and sister are clearly documented. The fact that they knowingly or even negligently expelled you. After all, that could be considered extremely malicious under the law. He laid out several legal options, and among them was a clear path to channel my anger in a lawful and just way. First, we'll demand the immediate return of the personal property you purchased. In addition, we can file a claim for damages due to unlawful occupancy. Their actions may even constitute fraud. His calm and precise words transformed my emotional rage into a cold and calculated sense of revenge. After Cole left, I quietly said to my mother-in-law, Sarah, will you help me? I want to take action first thing tomorrow morning. She smiled and said, I'll make the arrangements right away. The next morning dawned with a strange tranquility like the calm before a storm. I had grown up in this quiet, tree-lined suburban neighborhood, slicing through the peaceful morning air. 3 massive moving trucks pulled up in front of my parents' house with an imposing presence. My mother and Zoe, still in their pajamas, ran outside and stood frozen in disbelief at the sight. Muscular movers stepped down from the trucks, completely ignoring my mother and sister, and entered the house in an orderly fashion according to the checklist held by their team leader. In his hand was the detailed list of personal property I had created the night before. The large TV in the living room, the sofa, the dining table, the state-of-the-art refrigerator in the kitchen, the dishwasher. All of them were items Connor and I had purchased and installed over the past 5 years for the sake of this family. What is this? Who do you people think you are barging into someone's house like this? My mother screamed hysterically, but the team leaders simply held up a piece of paper with a cold expression. It was the legally binding proof of ownership and notice of property retrieval drafted by Attorney Cole. According to this document, all listed items are the legal property of Miss Samantha. We are here under rightful authority to remove them. If you interfere, we will notify the police. Hearing those words, my mother turned pale and collapsed to the ground. Zoe stood beside her, unable to grasp what was happening. Then my phone began to ring loudly. The screen displayed Mother. I took a deep breath and pressed the answer. Button, Samantha, what on earth is going on? Stop this right now. Her voice shrieked with rage and confusion from the other end of the line. And I could hear Zoe crying in the background. Mother, I'm sorry, but from now on all communication will go through my attorney, Mr. Cole. I am not permitted to speak with anyone else about this matter. An attorney nonsense, don't be ridiculous, our family. You're the ones who threw me out of the house that ended our family relationship. I'm simply reclaiming what's mine. Also, you will soon receive a formal eviction notice through my attorney. So please, be prepared. She gasped, then burst into mocking laughter. Eviction. Notice, don't be absurd, that house is mine. You have no right to tell me to leave. I didn't even feel like arguing anymore. You'll understand when the notice arrives that I ended the call and immediately blocked her number. Soon after, a call came in from Zoe, but I rejected it as well. There was no need to hear their voices anymore. About 30 minutes later, I was sitting in the quiet living room of Sarah's house, feeding Caleb a bottle of milk in my arms. Photo sent by my mother-in-law, passed through the local crew leader on site, appeared on my phone screen. What it showed was the empty shell of what used to be our living room. In the middle of it, my mother and Zoe were sitting hopelessly on the floor. Even as I looked at that image, my heart remained strangely calm. There was no guilt, no pity. Several days passed. A formal eviction notice by legal owner was delivered to the house. During that time, my phone buzzed endlessly with calls and messages from my mother and Zoe like a raging storm, but I never answered once. Life at Sarah's house was astonishingly peaceful. She created the perfect environment for me to focus on caring for Caleb as a mother, nutritious meals, clean clothes, and above all, peace of mind. Pain from my C-section wound eased with each passing day. I could feel the emotional wounds from my family slowly beginning to heal as well. I also spoke with Connor daily through video calls, and hearing his voice gave me immense strength. That peace was shattered one night without warning. The front door was pounded on so violently I feared it might break. Who could it be at this hour? Sarah followed her brows in suspicion and walked toward the entrance. Sitting on the sofa with Caleb in my arms, my heart tightened with an ominous sense of dread. As soon as Sarah opened, the door of furious scream erupted from beyond her shoulder. "Where's Samantha? Bring out that ungrateful daughter of mine?" It was my mother's hysterical voice. "What is going on? The power in the house is completely cut off. All the furniture is gone, and now we get an eviction. Notice. Are you telling us to just die?" Zoe's shrill voice followed immediately. My mother-in-law stood firmly in front of the door with unwavering composure. "Calm down. This is my house. It is not a place for you to come storming in and yelling." But neither of them paid any attention to her words and violently shoved her aside, barging into the living room. The moment they saw me sitting on the sofa, they rushed toward me with furious expressions like demons. "Samantha, how could you do something so cruel? You devil!" My mother glared at me with eyes full of hatred, standing next to her though. He crossed her arms and said, "It was the right thing to kick you out. You only ever think about yourself. You're a cold-hearted person, taking all the furniture and kicking us out of the house. It's no different from committing a crime." The moment I heard those words, something inside me snapped, "Stop it." My voice was quiet but cold as ice, and for a second they were both speechless. I gently moved Caleb to his bed and slowly stood up. "This little performance of yours. It's over." At that moment, my mother-in-law quietly placed a thick file on the living room table. It was all the evidence I had prepared to hand over to my lawyer. I opened the file, pulled out one document, and thrust it in front of my mother's eyes. "Look at this, Mom. These are my credit card statements from the past 5 years. This one's from when I bought the living room, sofa, and refrigerator. This one's for the television. Do you see how much financial support we gave you?" Then I slowly pulled out the single most important and weighty document from the file. It was an official deed bearing the seal of the notary public. "Moreover, you've made a fundamental mistake. You never had the right to kick me out of that house in the first place." I gently slid the deed across the table in front of my mother. Before Dad passed away, he legally transferred full ownership of the house to me. He understood everything, your unstable income, and how inexperienced though he still was. That's why he entrusted me, his eldest daughter, with this house to make sure it would be protected. My words left my mother and Zoe frozen as if struck by lightning. Closely at the deed, whose name is written as the owner. With trembling fingers, my mother pulled the deed toward herself and stared in disbelief at the name. Samantha Reed printed on it. "You are never the owners. You were simply living in my house. And yet you threw the rightful owner, me, onto the street with my newborn son. I've never heard of such disgraceful ingratitude of my life. No, that can't be." My mother collapsed weakly to the floor. I delivered the final blow. "You are no longer my family." My words made my mother bury her face in her hands and break down in tears, although he glared at me with hateful eyes. At that moment, my mother-in-law, who had been quietly watching everything unfold, finally stepped in. She firmly but calmly grabbed both of them by the arms with the strength that left no room for argument. "This conversation is over. This is my home. It is where my precious grandson deserves to sleep in peace. Please, leave now." With steady force, my mother-in-law pushed the two of them toward the front door despite their resistance. "You are never to set foot in this house again." With those words, my mother-in-law pushed the two of them completely out the front door and shut it firmly behind them. When she returned to the living room, she silently wrapped her arms around my trembling shoulders. "You spoke, Samantha. You've become strong. I simply nodded quietly in her warm embrace. What followed needs little explanation. Through Attorney Cole, all legal proceedings steadily progressed. Compensation for the illegal eviction, verification of rightful ownership of the house my father left behind. The court ruled entirely in our favor, issuing a large financial judgment against my mother and sister. There was no way they could pay for it. Evicted from the house, and, having lost everything, their lives quickly spiraled into hardship. They are now living together in a cheap apartment. My mother working part-time, and Zoe juggling multiple side jobs just to get by. Zoe influenced her account. Once her pride reportedly went up in flames after rumors of the incident spread and was ultimately shut down. Her boyfriend left her the moment their financial situation worsened, vanishing without a trace. Several months later, a letter arrived via Attorney Cole. The sender was my mother, Brooke. The trembling handwriting was filled with words of regret and apology. Dear Samantha, I know it's far too late, and that no amount of words can earn your forgiveness. I was a failure as a mother. No, I was foolish and arrogant as a human being. I blindly believed his lies and refused to see the truth. That was my weakness. If there is ever even the smallest chance for me to make amends, I would do anything. Please allow me to pray from afar that my grandson Caleb grows up healthy and happy from your mother. As I finished reading the letter, a single tear ran down my cheek. It was not a tear of anger or sorrow. It was one of relief because the long battle had finally truly ended. I slipped the letter back into the envelope and tucked it away in the back of the desk drawer. As the seasons changed, Caleb rolled over for the first time. And finally, Connor returned home to the U.S., his overseas mission complete. The moment I saw him in his camouflage uniform at the airport arrivals gate, I ran into his arms holding Caleb tightly in mine. Welcome home, Connor. I'm home, Samantha. And hello for the first time. Caleb Connor cradled his son for the first time, eyes glistening with emotion. Seeing that moment, my heart overflowed with a warm sense of happiness. At last, our family had truly become one. Our new life began peacefully. Connor, a devoted husband and father, showered Caleb and me with love while my mother-in-law often visited to help with childcare and doted on her grandson. This is the kind of family I had always wanted. The family I once had was gone from my life, but I have lost nothing. In fact, through that harsh experience, I learned what truly mattered most.